there, nice spring afternoon, South Texas, the sun's out, it's a little humid, kind of hot, but nothing too bad. Then all of a sudden you find yourself being forced outside because before you know it, you're getting set upon by torrential rain, cloud to ground lightning, and wind that just seems to come out of nowhere. Before you know it, it's over. Almost before it started, it leaves just as quickly as it came on, and you're left wondering where it came from. So, not only am I going to tell y'all where it came from, I'm also going to let you know different types of thunderstorms and how they form, and a weather phenomena associated with these thunderstorms known as a downburst. So, some of the sources I used for this presentation include Severe and Hazardous Weather by Robert Walsh and Charlevoix, The Weather Red Book by Thomas Vasquez, Carl Prather, who is a fellow meteorologist at A&M, the National Weather Service, and Wikipedia.com. Okay, when I was little, my grandma told me that thunderstorms were just something that happened because God was bowling. Years later, I learned that that wasn't true, so this is just kind of, for those that still think that, this is going to help y'all out. Okay. Just your average, everyday, run-of-the-mill thunderstorm that pops up in South Texas is known as an air mass thunderstorm or a pulse thunderstorm. And those happen in 3 stages. There's the cumulus stage, the mature stage, and the dissipation stage. In the cumulus stage, you basically just have an air parcel that is warmer than its surrounding air, so it starts to rise. Once it gets so high in the atmosphere, it's going to stop because the stratosphere won't let it go any further. At that time, the water droplets in the cloud are big enough to where they start to fall down, and at this point it enters the mature stage. While the air is rising up, you've got all these updrafts happening, there's a lot of other physical processes involved, but when the rain starts to fall out of it, it's creating downdrafts. Now, with pulse thunderstorms, the only way that it's formed is the air is rising. So, the downdrafts are really starting to counteract everything. Once the downdrafts completely overtake the updrafts, it enters its dissipation stage. The moisture is cut off from going any further, so the storm just kind of rains itself out. And lots of times in College Station, you'll notice that, the spot you're at gets a whole lot of rain for about an hour, gets over an inch, but you'll talk to one of your friends in Bryan that didn't get any rain. And that's just the nature of pulse thunderstorms. Usually at their largest stage, they're between 10 and 15 miles wide, and they have a lifespan of about an hour. Now, pulse thunderstorms are really just the most common form of thunderstorms in the United States, but their larger, more violent counterpart are supercell thunderstorms. And a lot of times that's where you'll see trees getting knocked down, roofs getting torn off houses, and tornadoes. And there's a picture of one right there. Got that description from Wikipedia.com. Okay. The biggest difference between a supercell thunderstorm and a pulse thunderstorm is that instead of just having air rise straight up into the atmosphere, that air is actually rotating. That forms a mesocyclone. Mesocyclones are usually the birthplace of tornadoes. So that's why you'll start to see later in the summertime in the Great Plains and stuff like that, that quickly rotating air is going to drop lots of tornadoes. It's going to ruin pretty much everything that it touches. And got this picture from stormchasers.com. Okay. One of the things associated with really large thunderstorms, a lot of times even in Texas, are downbursts. Now, when you have such a high volume of rain falling out of the cloud, it's creating a lot of drag in the atmosphere. And when that rain hits the ground, the drag doesn't really have anywhere to go but spread completely out. Forms really fast straight line winds. A lot of times you see them in Texas. And just this last spring when we were running the radar on top of the O&M, we got to see the foot of a downburst, which is just kind of looks like a boot coming out from the rain, which you can actually see right here. And I know it's a little hard to see on here, but here's evidence of downburst damage. Instead of a tornado where you just have things ripped out of the ground and tossed about, downbursts, they're more uniform. They pretty much just lay down things that get in its way. And actually, last May, in Dallas, Texas, a downburst destroyed the Dallas Cowboys training facility. I'm sure a lot of y'all heard of the bubble dome getting completely torn up. A lot of people got hurt. One person even had to get their spine realigned, and they have a whole bunch of pins in them now, and that was all thanks to this downburst. And you can kind of see pictures of it right here. The straight line winds got up to over 100 miles an hour and completely shredded it to pieces. So that's something that you can look out for. If you're driving around after a storm and you see a whole bunch of trees just laid flat out, you can always tell your friends that you know why that happened now. So in conclusion, now y'all should kind of have a general idea of how thunderstorms form, what kind of differentiates a pulse thunderstorm from a supercell, and know a little bit more about downbursts.